Alright, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I thought I'd do a short video um, showing how I integrate VSL strings particularly into the template with other string libraries. So there's a couple things you have to do to make it work, but I don't think a lot of people abandon the idea of using VSL strings because of the dry sound, but there's actually some things you could do to make it blend better and really be usable, because the samples are actually really good, and there are a lot of great articulations in the VSL libraries that aren't in other libraries. Okay, so let's first, I have a little example here. So what I did to integrate it was I used Albion 1 strings, and let me just show you that. For example, for the high strings here. So I'll just show you these. So I had these three mics all the way up, the close, tree, and ambient. Right, so that's a very open sound here, very roomy sound. But I also added a tail to it, and this is important because it's going to tie the two libraries together. So what I did for the tail was I bussed it to a separate track here with a Valhalla instance, the vintage reverb, which has a great hall sound. So I set it to 1.72 seconds, pre-delay of 30. And also, this is very important, I lowered the modulation here, and that can be nice if that's the effect you're going for. It creates a nice chorusing effect. But I think for this, we don't want that. So we just want to go with a natural sound. So I lowered that all the way. The other settings I just kept how they were. I'm not doing any EQing. So I like to use this concert hall preset. Okay, so that's that. So now, let's talk about the VSL, what I did here. So I used the orchestral strings for the first violin section, and I just did a short example of a progression here. And for the second violins, I used the chamber samples, which I really like, because I wanted a smaller section. So that I think is 8 players, I believe, maybe less. Actually, let me check it out here. So it's actually only 6 players. So we have the orchestral one is 14 players, so this is a lot smaller, but I wanted that differentiation between the first and second violins. And then I just use the orchestral violas, cellos, and basses. For the Albion, I use the octaves for the cello and bass, so that's why there's only one track for that. Okay, so now here's where the tricks come in to give it some space. There's a couple things. The first thing I do is use this plugin, which I really love, called Virtual Soundstage. It's by Parallax Audio, and it allows you to position the strings in a virtual space. So this is very important because not only does it give you the panning, the spatialization, but it also simulates a hall. And you can also set it up. You can move these around. I use the presets pretty much, but for the double bass, I set it more towards the center because I think if you don't do that, it's a little heavy on the right side. So normally, like, it's set here, but I move it to somewhere closer to the violas here. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then, like I said, I send to the second thing is sending it to Valhalla. But another important thing that I like to do is, and this is a trick I learned from Christian Cardice at VSL, And what he does is this is really kind of important, and it allows you to create the space better, is do this you set this to pre-fader, the send, so that you can control this separately from the fader. So in other words, I can bring up the reverb signal, I can balance that separately from the audio signal. So that helps create space. Let me show you an example here. So let me just play this, the first violin part. So this is the blend that I like. But watch when I bring up this fader here. Right, it moves forward. And, you know, I mean, it gets louder, but it also sounds closer. So by setting it, seeing it's independent from the reverb signal. So I think that's important. So I had it set to negative 3 dB there, minus 3 dB. Okay, so let's so I'll play each of these individually, and then I'll let you hear the Albion group and then the VSL group. And they still have different characteristics, but I think they blend a lot better this way. And it gives you a nice dimension. Whenever you blend libraries, it gives you more dimension. Because anytime you can introduce you know, inconsistencies in playing and sort of you know, little nuanced things, it creates a more realistic effect. So I don't normally just use one library. I like to blend two libraries. And the VSL is good because it's sort of like a closer feeling. So anyway, so that's the first violin. Here's the second violin. Let you hear that. This is the chamber violin. So it's a smaller group. So I kept this I lowered this a little and kept the send the same. So I wanted to set it back a little bit to get them to balance more. So I'll play them together actually. So I think it's a good balance. And we have the spatialization is good. So the first violins are a little further left. Okay, so now I'll play the violas here. So the violas are a little center, a little to the right. Okay, and then we have the cello. I have this at negative 5 dB. Now this is even more to the right. So you get the idea with that. It's a great cello sound, and I think with this, doing just these few things here really helps. So don't dismiss the VSL. So now here's the bass. So I brought this a little more towards the center because otherwise it was a little, like I said, heavy on the right side. So let's hear it with the cello here. Okay, so let's hear all the VSL strings together now. So I think it sounds really good. So by comparison, let's listen to the Albion strings. Albion 1. And like I said, I combined the cellos and basses together here in one. So here's the Albion, just so you can hear that. Okay, so here's where the magic happens. When you put them together, it gives you a really big sound here. Check it out. Okay, so that's my little tutorial here. I hope it helped give you guys some ideas on how to use the VSL in your compositions. So yeah, I think it sounds really nice when they're together. It has a certain intimacy too that you don't get with just using the Albion. Or it's a great library, but I think the VSL can give you a nice intimacy as well. Especially a lot of times I'll just use the chamber strings with the orchestral. In this case, I wanted to show you just the blending, so I used the bigger ensembles. But okay, so yeah, just leave comments below and please subscribe to my channel. And okay, we'll see you the next time. Thanks. Bye.